Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today we're taking a look at some of the biggest changes in update 5.3 and how people feel about them, really. I am of course going to be giving my own thoughts there because there is currently a lot of mixed opinions about the 128 player Rush XL game mode. There's also a fair bit of controversy over the latest helicopter changes. Are they balanced? Are they too good now, etc. So if you guys do enjoy the content here on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I will of course be covering everything leading up to surrounding Season 6, as well as seasons beyond that if we get them, and of course the next Battlefield game. So Redux is here. It's a chance for everybody who missed Season 1 to experience the event that took place there, and the game mode this week is 128 player Rush Chaos XL. So what do you get when you put 128 players on a very small play area with only two close-knit objectives to contend over? Well, absolute chaos, as the name suggests. Now it seems player reaction on this game mode is very mixed. Some people dislike it and find it to be far too chaotic to actually, get a flank off or play objectively, whilst other people feel it's like a giant version of those meat grinder maps of old, like Operation Locker or Operation Metro. I'm definitely in the former crowd here. This game mode is really not for me. Unlike Breakthrough, every single game I've played on this mode as the attackers has been a big struggle, and we've ultimately always lost. I feel like the sheer number of defending players spread over such a small area really leaves you no avenue to flank down or a clear path to approach the MCOMs, and then even if you do get close enough to plant, there is just so much explosive spam from Zane, the SPH launcher and grenades. It's incredibly easy to just shut down any plant on the MCOMs for the defenders. And so what this means is that all of the games I've played in have devolved into a sniper versus sniper match, where you'll have a vast majority of the attacking team just sitting back and attempting to outsnipe the defenders. So I will say that if you're looking for a balanced objective focus mode, this isn't it. However, if you're looking for chaos, if you're looking for what I would call silly fun, if you're looking to tier 1 Zane or Blasco or a specific weapon, then you might actually enjoy this. I would just take it for what it is. Don't get too hung up on playing the objective and just try to have fun, I guess. Again, this isn't for me, so I will be avoiding this mode, but then again, I also avoid the meat grinder sections of maps like Metro because I just don't enjoy spamming nades all day. I prefer to try and flank around and play tactically, but it's obvious that there is a massive portion of the player base who do enjoy that, based on the popularity of maps like Metro and Lockers. So is this a bad mode? Well, I suppose ultimately it depends on what you're looking for. Now, the dreaded M5 RPG velocity nerf has made it into the game, and as predicted, it really isn't that big of a deal. I don't have a hard time taking out ground vehicles. If you're used to sniping helis with these launchers, it will matter more there, I think, and, require a slightly longer lead, but I haven't really noticed less people picking up launchers or getting taken out by these launchers or anything. Also, we do need to bear in mind that there are more engineer changes coming, so for all we know, DICE could decide to make a really big change, like giving the engineers more ammo or making the launchers do more damage, which I think overall would be a much bigger buff than this small nerf here. So watch this space. Now, hovercrafts. Hovercrafts are a lot of fun now. In fact, I would go so far as to say that they are better than the LATV. They are now so maneuverable that you can perform donuts with them. You can just turn on a dime, really, something the LATV can't really do. Furthermore, I'd argue it's harder to shoot somebody out of a hovercraft than the LATV. Oh, and it also seems like they can sort of fly again, although they can't climb walls, so they haven't quite yet returned to their true form. But if you, like me, have always chosen the LATV over the hovercraft because of the ease of control, I recommend giving the hovercrafts a go. They are a lot better now. Okay, let's move on to the helicopter changes here. So yesterday I put up a video of me and a friend of mine, Heeb, going pretty hard in a round in the attack helicopters. Now, if you're not aware, the attack helicopters have seen some considerable changes to their flight model. The gunner seat has been completely revamped with a better positioning, thermal vision, and the damage model is also completely new. On top of that, the pilot rocket pods now seem to be a little bit easier to hit ground vehicles with, and you get 2 tow missiles instead of 1. So there's been a very mixed response to these changes. Some people think that attack helicopters are now in a good position and needed the buffs, and other people think that they were already too good and have no idea really why DICE did this. So after having used them for a good few rounds, I wanted to give some feedback of my own here. In my opinion, attack helis were not really in a good position at all, and this was obvious to me by how much more people picked the Nightbird and the stealth helicopters over the attack helis. Now, the way they feel now to me is almost like the Battlefield 4 attack helicopter. It's not quite there. You know, that helicopter had 30 rounds in the gunner seat. You could spray down 5 or 6 people before having to reload, but this new gun requires you to be very accurate. It has a long travel time for the rounds, so the higher you go, the harder it is to hit targets, and the splash damage is also pretty low. The overheat mechanic is also pretty aggressive, so you can maybe get 2, maximum 3 people, and then you'll have to wait on the cooldown. And also the travel time here on the rounds means you'll probably waste more rounds on a single target than you actually need to until you see that kill confirmation, meaning that there is definitely a skill to using this gun and bursting it correctly, which is what they were going for, I think. Now, I do think the range of this gun may be a little bit too good. I have tested this out to around 550 meters, I think, and you can hit infantry players from there. Now, if you couple that with the new thermal scope, which also has a very long range and is very powerful, and, you know, despite the low velocity of the rounds, it is still possible to hover close to the flight ceiling and snipe infantry by leading your shots, which is a situation that we saw happen time and time again in Battlefield 3. Now, the range of a missile is, I believe, 450 meters, which means that you can effectively be completely safe from those. I think AA missiles, on the other hand, have like an 800 meter range, so that would still be a threat to you. But this might be a possible area that players could abuse. That's definitely something we don't want, so DICE and the vehicles team might want to take a look at that. Now, the biggest change I've found, though, is just the sheer power this thing now has against other vehicles. You know, it really feels like a massive threat to ground armor. So the pilot now has 2 tow missiles, which can be fired back to back pretty much. Each of those does, I believe, around 30 or 35 damage to a tank, so similar to an AGM. And then you've got the new and improved rocket pods, which, although still wildly inaccurate, are much more forgiving in their splash damage, which makes them very effective against armor on the ground. However, they still do pretty terrible damage to infantry, which I think is a good thing. You know, the pilot's job is not to kill infantry, that's the gunner's job, so I would say they're in a good spot there. And then the gunner seat is also pretty strong against tanks, and especially lightly armored vehicles like LATVs as well. So if you have a competent pilot and gunner working together, watch out, tanks, because this new attack heli will absolutely smoke you. Now, as good as it sounds, the attack heli does have a lot of weaknesses. Liz users are still going to have the easiest time hitting this helicopter out of the 3. It's still the slowest and the most sluggish, and it's still the biggest. And whilst the round I uploaded yesterday showed us wrecking the enemy team, that's only because they didn't react to us. Believe me, if 5 infantry players get killed by an attack heli, they then look at the scoreboard and they see that guy has like 20 kills and 0 deaths, and so they all switch to Liz and start targeting the heli, that will almost completely shut them down. That's literally all it takes. Even if they don't connect with the missiles, if there are enough of them flying at you, it makes using the helicopter effectively impossible. However, if the enemy team keep going about their business, they don't react to what's happening within the game, they've just decided that they're going to play Falk for the entire round, and that's that, then yes, you will get dominated by this helicopter, or any other vehicle in the game, really. I really think vehicles in this game often get a lot of hate, purely because players don't react to them. And very often, if I simply type in the chat, hey guys, you know, can we target the Wildcat in the spawn? Or can we take down this transport helicopter on breakthrough that's destroying us? Or can we take down the enemy helicopter? Within 2 minutes, there is way more fire flying in that vehicle's direction, and more often than not, they will die, and it's simply because players don't really seem to be thinking about it or be aware of the situation, and sometimes somebody just reaching out in chat and sort of saying, hey guys, are we going to do something about this? That is often enough. For me, if I'm playing in a vehicle and I sense that the enemy team really aren't targeting me at all, and I do happen to die, well, I'm likely to spawn in that same vehicle again because, well, it's going well for me. But if there's like 10 Lissile players, there's a Railgun tank, and there's a good Wildcat player on the enemy team, then I'm far more likely to think, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to be successful in this round in the helicopter, so I'm going to go and play infantry or armor or whatever else instead. And I think that is the beauty of the sandbox nature of Battlefield. Every single round can be vastly different to the last one you played on that map. I would also say that in a heli versus heli 1v1, the attack helicopters really drew the short straw. Maybe I'm just not as skilled as some other people with them, but whilst the missiles do have more splash damage, if it's a 1v1 in the air, splash damage doesn't matter anymore, and now you have to get direct hits, and since they fire from the left and right of the helicopter, alternatively, it's very, very difficult to line them up without any kind of a pip, so I would like to see some improvement still to the heads-up display. You know, if you've got a Nightbird that's staying at range and he's using his zoom view and just constantly peppering you with the miniguns, it is very, very hard to deal with that currently. But, you know, maybe that's intended. Maybe the Nightbird is supposed to trump the attack heli. Now, just before we wrap up here, jets have seen some changes too. So the rocket pods specifically have had much the same treatment as those on the attack helicopter, only they've also had their rate of fire decreased. So to me at least, they feel pretty much the same against infantry as they did before. However, they are way more powerful against ground armor because of that extra splash. It just feels way more forgiving, and especially if you come and hit a tank on its side profile, you can actually one-strafe a tank with these things now. So they may actually be the new best secondary over AGMs. Another thing to bear in mind is that next week we will be seeing the changes to the vehicle numbers. There seems to be a lot of confusion around that. I got asked this question multiple times on stream the other day. The vehicle counts haven't changed yet. For whatever reason, DICE have decided to issue those changes next week, presumably on the Tuesday, and it'll be a server-side change, so no need for a new client update for anyone. How this will affect the vehicle versus vehicle and vehicle versus infantry meta remains to be seen, but once these changes are in effect, I will likely do another video there. I just wanted to thank everybody who's come out to watch me over on Twitch recently. Having you guys hang out there with me is really fun. I'm really enjoying this streaming thing, and tomorrow I will more likely than not be streaming the Starfield early access. So if that's something that interests you, drop me a follow. Link is down below in the description. Thank you as always for watching and supporting, guys. Extra shout out to my members and Twitch subs. That is always very much appreciated. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.